to go ahead and welcome everybody. My name is Liza Noland. I'm the Director of Rural Programs for Local First Arizona Foundation. And we were approached by Emily Siegel over at Sonoran Desert Conference Inn and Sonoran Desert Inn and Conference Center in Ajo to put on this webinar as an independent hotelier down there. She really brought it to the forefront that maybe you guys are all out there sort of wondering what sort of resources exist for you, where we're going as an industry in rural tourism, and how we can help. And so really appreciate the outreach, Emily and Stuart, and happy to put this on. We've got a strong panel for you today. So we've got Kim Sabo with Arizona Lodging and Tourism Association. We've got Stacy Faulkner, who is our Rural Programs Manager here at Local First Arizona and has about 15 years of experience in workforce development, to talk about resources for your employees and for you as employers. We've got Jen Luria here with Dog Cat Mouse Media with a strong history in rural tourism from down in Bisbee. And then Tim DeClaire will be joining us from Arizona Office of Tourism to talk a little bit about what they're seeing at the state level and what we can keep our fingers crossed for here as we move forward from COVID when that happens. So in the essence of time, we do have a hard stop at 11:45 on our end because the webinar world is booming and we have to put on another one, I think, at noon. So we will try to keep this timely with each presenter having about 15 minutes, and then we'll give 5 minutes after where I will ask questions from the chat box. And if we don't get to everybody during that piece, we'll save a little bit of time at the end. So I don't think we've got Kim on video yet. So we're gonna go ahead and skip and start with Stacy Faulkner here at Local First Arizona to talk to you a little bit about unemployment and employee resources that exist. So Stacy, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Liza. Can you hear me okay? All right, perfect. So I just want to share, as I've been doing calls to rural communities with the small businesses, I've put together a list of resources that have been important to them that they didn't necessarily know existed or know how to access. So I really just want to go through that list to make sure you're all aware. And then after this webinar, we will send this list out to everyone so that way they have it with all of the websites to access. If you have any questions after this, please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly or send your questions through the chat. So the first resource I want to talk about is the resource from Local First Arizona. I'm not sure if any of you have been on our website recently, but we do have a small business relief fund available. It is a grant, so you do not have to repay the relief fund. In order to qualify for that, you've got to have 0 to 3 employees, make less than $250,000 in annual revenue. Priority for this grant is going to be placed on business owners with children under 18 at home. Going to be given to families that are reliant on the business as their sole income, and then one application per business. And we are typically giving out the grant anywhere from $1,000 to $2,500. The application can be found right on localfirstaz.com. In addition to that, on Local First, there is also a directory that we have set up. It's a separate web page, but any small business can go to that site and register themselves. It's absolutely free, and it's just a directory so that customers can find each other. You can post what you're currently doing. What are you doing innovatively? Do you have curbside pickup and different things like that for consumers to access and shop safely to support your community. Those websites, or both of those, can be accessed through Local First Arizona website. Unemployment. So I've had a lot of questions about unemployment, and of course you're going to file for unemployment on azui.com. There may be a little bit of a lag to access that website because they are experiencing very high volumes, but you're not going to be able to call. The phone lines, they have disabled those phone lines. So if you're having trouble accessing the system, I'm going to encourage you to just keep trying because you're not going to be able to get through via phone call. For unemployment, It does go off of your last 18 months employed. So they take what you've made over the last 18 months, and that's how they determine what you would get weekly for unemployment. Typically, you'll get up to $240 a week when you file a claim. However, right now they're giving an additional $600 per week through the state stimulus funds. So you could potentially earn up to $840 per week as long as you continue to file your weekly claims. You normally would have to put in a waiting week to file for unemployment. They have waived that waiting week, so you will get unemployment starting the first day that you file your claim. You can be laid off, you can be terminated, you can be furloughed, or you can be considered reduction in force. All of those will qualify you for unemployment. 13 additional weeks of unemployment have been approved for those that have already a current claim that is going to be exhausting soon. So through COVID-19, they have extended that another 13 weeks for you to be able to access. Another resource that a lot of people don't know about is rapid response through your local workforce development one-stop, so Arizona at Work. For businesses that are shutting down, whether it be temporary or long-term, rapid response does have a lot of different resources for employers. So they will explain to you once you file a more notice. They will explain to you what resources are available to you through rapid response. They will provide different services to your affected workers so they can access indirect services through their case management system. You will have to register on Arizona Job Connection and become a participant and build a resume. There's a basic account and a plus account. You'll need to access a plus account and then be connected with a case manager, and they can walk you through all of those resources that are available under that fund. I'm sure you're all aware of the SBA relief funds. Those can be accessed directly on the SBA site. Once you get on that site, there are actually now 4 different programs that are available. Read through all of them because they all have different application processes. If you need help with those applications, we can certainly help you at Local First Arizona. But there are, the loans that are over 30-year period with a 2.75% interest rate that you don't have to start paying for 1 full year. But then they also have the $10,000 grant, should you qualify for that, the Paycheck Protection Program. So make sure that you read through all of those because there are now 4 different resources that you can access on the SBA site. For those that have been laid off and are really in a crisis, APS has provided a temporary shut-off policy, so they will not shut off your electric. And if you call and tell them that you've been affected by COVID-19, they will give you a $100 credit on your bill. You don't have to supply any information or fill out any type of application. You simply have to call. They don't ask you how, and then you'll get a $100 credit to your bill, and that's immediate. I'm sure you're all aware of the Arizona Office of Tourism. I've included that in the resource page just because they have a lot of updated information about traveling and things that you can do during COVID-19. So that's in there. And then they also have some direct resources linked to their page that you can access if you need help. For employees that have been laid off, you can get on the DES website and access nutrition assistance. There is an application that you need to fill out, but along with nutrition assistance, which is the supplemental assistance program, it's a monthly benefit. You can also qualify for medical assistance, cash assistance, and utility assistance. All of those applications are going to be on the DES website. And there is a short form that you will have to fill out. More than likely, once you complete those forms, you'll get a call from the low-income home energy assistance program if it's utility assistance, or you'll get an email confirmation accepting or declining your application for the medical, cash, and nutrition assistance. If you're collecting unemployment, you are likely to be approved for those resources. There's also a short-term crisis resource available. So in addition to the utility, medical, cash, and nutrition, the short-term crisis will provide temporary assistance to low-income families experiencing an emergency. And again, it's help with shelter, mortgage payments, utilities. If you have a child with special needs, they will provide resources and funding to cover some of those costs. Rental assistance, and the list goes on. So make sure you read the full list of resources available under short-term crisis services on the DES website as well. Included in that resource packet are different, food banks, goodfoodfinderaz.com, different resources where you can access inexpensive or free food packages through food banks. If you want, fresh food through Good Food Finder AZ, if your local grocery stores are running out of meat or produce, access that website because it gives you a listing throughout Arizona of where you can get some good food. And then the IRS rebates, I'm not going to touch too much on that, but I watched the news and they said that the payments are going to be dispersed starting next week, but they're going to start dispersing those payments to individuals that have the lowest income throughout Arizona. So if you make $10,000 or less, currently you'll get your check faster than if you're making $75,000 or more as a family per year. But those are to start next week. $1,200 for each adult individual, $2,400 for joint filers, and then $500 per qualifying child in the home. But it is income based, so there's going to be different guidelines and requirements around that rebate. And the last thing I included in here is, I'm sure you're all aware of your Arizona at Work local office. They are staying open, whether they're down to limited staff or they've gone virtual and provided a website and phone number to call. But if there is any employees that have been laid off that need to get back to work quickly, they do have the WIOA grant available for individuals to get a short-term quick certification so they can become employed for stopgap employment in a different industry temporarily until they can get back to their normal jobs. So generally, each individual could access up to $10,000 in grant funds. Some local areas only provide $4,000 for training and education. But aside from that, there are many different resources at your local Arizona at Work office that you can access. So I've also included that into the resource packet.
Okay, so one quick question, Stacy, that jumped on here was, what is the max amount an employee can earn per week and still qualify for unemployment?
So there is, if you're down to part-time hours, you still can collect unemployment, but it's still going to be based off of what you have earned over the last 18 months. I don't know those calculations specifically, but if you've been furloughed and are only working 3 days a week, or you've gone down to part-time, you can still collect unemployment. Your claim initially, just because they have so many people filing, it could be denied and continue to file because the rules are changing around unemployment every day, just like they have around the SBA loans and grant. So it's something that you're going to have to stay on top of and keep filing and keep appealing because eventually you may be approved for that benefit.
Okay, and then you might have mentioned this as well, but I think starting this week, your 1099 employees are now going to be eligible for unemployment as well, correct?
Yes, so starting Friday, after Friday, if you are a contract 1099 employee, typically you would not qualify for unemployment, but they have released another um, pot of funds for those employees to collect just like a regular employment at 240 a week plus that additional up to 600 a week as a 1099 employee.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, it looks like we do have, I think we do have eyes on Kim Sabo from Arizona Lodging and Tourism. So Kim, if you're there, I will turn this over to you.
Hello. Can you hear me? How about now? I can't hear you at all. Hello?
We can hear you. I was just on mute. Go ahead.
I can't hear you at all.
How about now? You don't have to. So
Okay.
we
I'm
can hear you.
flying blind here. So anyway, thank you so much for having me. I'm just going to assume that you're telling me to go ahead. Thank you so much. Great to be a part of the webinar today and provide a little bit of information to the industry about a phenomenal initiative called Hospitality for Hope. Hospitality for Hope is an initiative that was created by our partner at the national level, the American Hotel and Lodging Association, and its president and CEO, Chip Rogers. And it's a fantastic initiative that is an effort to partner with partner state associations such as AZLTA in Arizona throughout the country and create a database of hotel properties that are interested in registering on this database. And then these properties are connected with local, state, and federal entities and the healthcare community. And the idea is to sort of matchmake, if you will, in this great time of crisis, so that as we are progressing with the crisis and we have different needs, say, for example, a need to house first responders or a need for additional hospital beds, then the hospital and healthcare community, local, state, and federal authorities can partner and go to this database and see what hotels have registered throughout the state. So we have over 300 hotels registered in all parts of the state, and it's really a great tool to use to matchmake and pair needs with resources, if you will. Am I just going to keep talking? Okay, fantastic. So as I mentioned, this is a national program, and there are over 16,000 hotels around the country registered and over 350 in Arizona. So my recommendation for hotels that are experiencing a number of different things, whether it be laying off employees, we're seeing around the state, many properties are actually being forced with the decision to actually shut their doors. So as an alternative, as this crisis progresses, and we can keep our finger on the pulse by looking at other states across the country and what they're going through, because relatively speaking, we are behind most of the other states, thankfully. And I'm going to give credit where credit is due, and that's to great leadership in our state and directive early on as to precautions and preventative measures to take to remain healthy and self distance, and all of the other messaging that has been put out by the governor's office and additional state entities. But having said that, going back to hotels that are facing the idea of possibly closing, this provides a lifeline to the hotels as an option to remain open. And it also provides a lifeline to our healthcare community and to our first responders and to our different state entities that are looking for the resources. So I would encourage hotel properties throughout the state to please go to AZLTA website, and I believe we have a slide up that will provide that information. But go to our website, AZLTA, or you can go to AHLA and click on Hospitality for Hope. And just yesterday, the AHLA are you there? Are you there? Okay, sorry. Released a toolkit, which is phenomenal. There is an entire library, if you will, of information from contacts and resources. There are even sample contracts. So what these agreements look like are going to be different for every scenario, for every state, for every locality. And they give sample contracts that these properties can enter into with governmental entities. And so that's a great, great resource. In addition, it provides, again, local healthcare community resources for the hotels to connect with and vice versa. So it's really just a, I shouldn't say just, it's a phenomenal resource at this time of need. And I will say I'm incredibly proud because this industry, as we all know, is at the tip of the spear. We've been hit so dramatically, so deeply, and so abruptly. But because we are the resilient industry that we are coming up with resources and solutions to partner and collaborate in this great time of need and be great partners. So with that, I don't know if I missed the beginning of the webinar. I apologize. I don't know if you're taking questions or if you'd like me to continue on.
Okay. Can you hear me, Kim?
Give me a hand signal. I can hear you a little bit.
Okay. Okay, so we will take questions at the end.
At the end. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And Jen, can you hear me okay? Just because I can see you. Okay, perfect. Okay, so thank you so much for that. And as mentioned, we will send links and resources in an email right after this so that everybody can start to check into some of that that was mentioned and see if that's a good fit for your place. Next, we'll go to Jen Luria with Dog Cat Mouse Media to talk a little bit about some ways to keep your clientele engaged and make sure that their loyalty comes back to you as soon as they possibly can. So Jen, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, yes, thank you. I'll pop up here in a second. Yes, so I'm Jen Luria with Dog Cat Mouse Media, and I just wanted to share some ideas through your social media channels on how you can really stay in the forefront of your clientele's minds and just, you know, it's the term out of sight, out of mind. You don't want to fully lose them, but of course it feels a little bit uncomfortable sometimes right now of how can we keep, you know, staying engaged with them. So what I did was I put together some slides that you'll receive at the end of this. And it's a PDF file that I've collected into them posts that I thought would be organized as past, present, and future. So when I talk about past, I thought now was a good time to reflect upon where we've been and who's visited your property. So it's asking previous guests, hey, what was your favorite thing about staying with us? Or what was your favorite place to go experience? You stayed with us, but you love the town. And what I did in these little slides that you'll see, I'm very visual, so it's hard just to have this conversation here without you guys seeing my screen, but you'll see this soon. So for example, posts that would say, you know, when was the last time you were there? When was the last time you were with us? And those kind of posts I've seen some great engagement from. So it keeps them talking about you, about, you know, the area you live in, and about them. And so it's great to be able to capture that and then to kind of share their stories. Another one too is to look back into your reviews, Yelp reviews, TripAdvisor reviews. You can turn some of those great reviews into then an image and share that as well. And I thought that was nice as a way to highlight previous guests and kind of keep them engaged that way. And I think they feel special to be kind of called out in those terms. And I think it's great to keep positive as much as possible through all this. So sharing positive reviews, I think, is a great way to do that. And when I talk about the present tense, so what are we doing right now? Of course, we're all, you know, self-isolating, we're in our houses, but what are some creative things that we can do to, you know, keep people still engaged with us? And I think this part is important, to really use your genuine voice at this moment. Like asking them, what are you currently streaming? You know, what are you watching? What are you creating? We're doing this ourselves, but are you cooking things? Are you, you know, yeah, creating something? But also, I've seen some hotels do these hashtags. Kind of, it's not a campaign per se, but it's a way to stay engaged. So there's a hotel called the Verb Hotel, and I took screenshots of these so you can see these exactly how they're worded. But they said, hey, let's use this hashtag Verb Vibe as inspiration to keep us all staying well connected and to keep our well-being healthy. So I thought that's kind of a nice way for you to engage with your clientele and you both future guests and past guests. And another one too was the Hotel McCoy, which is in Tucson. And I try to really look at other kind of boutique properties and smaller hotels. And so they had some cute things that they've been doing. Cute, this feels weird to say any of that kind of stuff during this time, but they had some clever ideas like, hey, if you're making a trip to the grocery store and you drive by our hotel, honk, and they put a big sign out there like, honk if you miss hugs. Or it's a way to kind of feel like, oh, there's still a connection there, even though we can't physically be together. Or on our social media page, use the car, you know, emoji showing honk and you're supporting us still. So I thought that was a great way in the present moment to stay engaged. And then if your property has offered food or drink services, or let's say you do a special happy hour when guests arrive or something like that, I thought since they can't come to you right now, and if you're not doing delivery services or curbside, I've seen some properties share like a special recipe that they have on their menu, or a special cocktail recipe, or hey, it's gonna be 5 o'clock. Typically, if you were with us at our property, we'd be doing this, and you can share that. Or if your property does cute little folded animal towels, a little tutorial on, you know, how you do that. Or if you put, does people put chocolate on their pillows anymore? I think it's adorable. But if you did services like that, just to kind of show them, hey, you're not here, but we're thinking of you, I think is a great way to do that. Another one too is take the time right now to introduce your staff and your team. And they don't have to be there in person. Ask them to take a, you know, photo of themselves at home right now, but write up a little something and thank them. And I think people right now, since we're so social distance, we're feeling disconnected, but this is a way then to connect them to your property and to your business. And it could be you describing, you know, your staff member, your team member, and giving them a shout out, or if they want to do a little video of themselves. And this is all, doesn't have to be high quality completely, and it's very, they don't have to be super produced and everyone's kind of winging it from their makeshift office spaces. But so you'll see also, I captured that with how some hotels are kind of giving a shout out to their staff, which I think is important. And another one too, if you're doing, working with other businesses, you're donating, you're helping to provide anything. So like a shout out to, hey, our favorite pizza place is still doing delivery, you know, make sure to reach out to them. And just that collaboration and partnering with other businesses to show that we're all in this together. But to really highlight that you're doing that, I think is important too, and to give them a little help. And then when I talk about the future tense, so yes, right now, nobody's traveling. We're not saying, hey, book now necessarily. We're just saying, hey, keep us in mind. You know, we miss you. Hopefully you miss us. And, you know, share inspirational quotes about travel. You can say, hey, here's a picture of the pool if you have a pool. Like, the pool misses you too. I think that way you just feel like, okay, they're still going to be there, hopefully, when this opens up and we can travel again. And then also I've been seeing some hotels offering staycations and starting to build those packages up because, and I think Tim is going to talk on this too from AOT about when we do get the green light to kind of start traveling again, people might start to slowly expand upon it. So stay more locally first, which would be great to help support those small businesses. So I've captured the wording on how some of these hotels have said, okay, well, through Booking Now, there's an online booking coupon, or through gift certificates, you can start to encourage them to plan as much as you can. It's hard, there's no dates and time right now still too, but keeping like an open-ended kind of a booking reservation for them. So anyway, they'll share these slides. You'll see more of what I'm talking about when you see the actual visuals, and we can continue the conversation later.
Okay, a couple questions, Jen, and we can bring it back to the whole panel too at the end, but if you had any thoughts kind of with your experience in tourism. Hearing that post-pandemic travel likely will be regional road travel versus international, are there networks that you've seen tapped into that properties, hotel properties can kind of partner with for regional travel plans?
That's a great way to do it. I think right now, just reaching out individually to places that you feel like would be a great partnership, I think is best. I think some people might not be thinking about that in those terms. I haven't seen a list put together per se, but yeah, that's a great idea to help link into and say, hey, if you're staying up here, then come down this way. I know in Bisbee, a lot of the hotels have been able to partner sometimes before this, but I think that'll be important to have that again. Like if you stay the night at so-and-so's place, then come down here, we'll discount that as well. Yeah, but that's, I think if you feel like there's a natural partnership, I think definitely reach out.
And I could see a couple things just, speaking off the top of my head, but Route 66, as mentioned, certainly comes to mind. The other is, a haunted hotel tour. If the hotels that promote themselves as haunted could collaborate on one itinerary and promote that through their social media, that might help people with planning. Or an art gallery hotel tour. I know a lot of hotels tend to have little art, displays in their place. So there could be opportunities to create a regional hotel experience if people are looking to try, to plan something like that.
Sure.
Let's see. TripAdvisor stats are saying that staying at home, people are spending up to 5 hours planning their future vacations. Let's hope so. That sounds fantastic. Properties that can share travel ideas fare better with this captive audience. What social media platforms do you think people are using to be planning these trips?
Yeah, well, looking at, I'm behind Discover Bisbee, which is the tourism site for Bisbee. And what I see coming through, the click-throughs to the website are coming from Facebook primarily instead of Instagram or Twitter, any of the other ones. So I'm wondering if the majority of people right now are on Facebook clicking through, they see these things, whether or not, yeah, so far that's what I've seen. But whether or not they're still going, like we had TripAdvisor campaigns planned, and I pushed all that because I don't think they weren't performing as well as before. So that's what our plan has been, unless somebody else has seen something else. And maybe Tim can talk about more of the numbers and research that's going on behind the scenes with AOT to kind of talk more about that.
Okay, so yes, and it looks like, thank you, Jen, very much for that. Looks like we have the Director of Arizona Office of Tourism on the line as well, Debbie. I did see her prior, but now I just see her name, so I'm not sure if she's still there, but I do see Tim as well. There she is. So appreciate it. Debbie, it sounds like maybe you're gonna step in and take this next part. Let's see if I can unmute you. Hold on, Debbie.
Oh,
there you are. Okay.
Thank you for unmuting me. I'll kick it off real quick and then I'll let Tim take over since I know he'd kind of planned this. I'm sorry we weren't here. I apologize. We have got so many things going on, and I think more than anything, I see all these names up here, and obviously, Jen, people that I recognize, Kim talking about the great project with Hotels for Hope. We put that on our website too, and I know they have it, so it's another great program. But there's so many different things going on in the tourism industry right now, as you all know, and trying to keep track of it all has been a lot. So we've got a couple different websites. The Arizona Together website is one that's kind of being run in partnership with the governor's office. It's got our information, the Hotels for Hope information on the business and unemployment and all of that. So it's a great kind of catch-all resource for everyone to use. I think from our standpoint, from the Office of Tourism, and Tim will get into specifics, but there's two things. The one that I'm most passionate about right now, and that's trying to help the people in our industry who have lost their job try to find a job or give them the resources that they have, because just hear the numbers that we've heard, about 75,000 people in our industry have lost their job just in Arizona. So that's a tremendous number. It's something that we're concerned about. So we're trying to help bridge those gaps where we can. So that's first. And then second is we want to make sure that we're ready when the time is right to come back with a campaign that really markets Arizona, that shares the stories of what we do and who we are and talks about that travel. Again, we're going to start with a statewide campaign. We'll go a little more regional before we go out back to our national domestic campaign. But we know people are going to want to travel. And what we love about Arizona is we have so many places for them to go where they're still not in cramped quarters, where they're not in a big city, where they can go and experience the outdoors. And some of the most beautiful places in the country are here in our state. And we want to make sure we can share those. And so we just saw some creative yesterday from our ad agency at Off Madison Avenue, and it was just amazing. And so we're really excited about being ready to go. Like literally once we know it's kind of a good time to start marketing again, we will start marketing again. We're going to be prepared to go. So with that, I'll let Tim take over and handle all the questions that you all had.
Hi, sorry I'm late. Totally my fault. I don't know what happened, but I'm so pleased to be here. Yeah, Debbie covered it really well. We are planning a post-pandemic campaign, and I think what's really important about it is that what we're seeing in the industry and what we're seeing with research is that people are going, the travel behavior and travel planning and booking behavior is going to be a little different than what we've seen in the past. And so we're focusing initially on in-state marketing, and then across the state, interstate travel, and then drive market from there, and it will grow from there. So it's sort of a phased approach, and not only a phased approach to what we're planning, but also our media that we're planning to market on throughout the state and the country. And so it's really important that people kind of take a step back during this time and take a look at any kind of research that you can find. We do have a couple resources that we'll share after the webinar, where people can go to get some research and insights into what's happening right now, sort of some of the behaviors we're seeing and what to plan for in the future, because we really want to make sure we follow what we're seeing through hard research versus just kind of our feelings. You mentioned social media. Right now, social media is our only channel to the world, and that's what most destinations are doing around the world. And we are seeing a little bit of an uptick in engagement. A lot of different brands and industries around the country are seeing surges in engagement on social media because people are referring to social media now to get news on what's happening, to connect with people. But we're also seeing very much an uptick in time spent. So while our engaged audience is still around the same or maybe a little bit more, the time spent is way up, which is really good for people to keep in mind with managing their content and telling stories. And so social media is going to be very important through this period and beyond. And so we'll have sort of paid effort behind social as well.
Great. There is a question here, it looks like for AOT. AOT keeps a photo file of properties that has been helpful in the past with promotional opportunities for properties, especially rural. Will AOT still keep this image video file, and are they planning on coordinating a more specific response to get more images and links for properties to use before the post-pandemic audience?
Do you want me to take that, or Debbie, do you want to take that? Yeah. So yes, we do maintain a library, and we're constantly reaching out to destinations. Content is king, and the more we get from destinations, the better. Not only just imagery, but also stories. So any kind of stories people have of local happenings or openings is going to be very important. And we are very excited about telling those stories and getting the word out. And so we're very interested as well in the transitional period as people start to come back online. We think there's going to be all kinds of great stories that we've never had before of businesses and local attractions and restaurants helping each other get back online and people coming back into the marketplace. So we're very interested in that, and just keep in touch with us. And the more content that we can share amongst all of ourselves, the better it's going to be for the industry.
Okay. Great. And Emily with Sonoran Desert Inn and Conference Center did, as kind of a tip and trick to others, they had done a campaign to raise, what did you call it here? To a staff relief fund. So they did a fundraiser to raise money to keep their staff, and were able to pay for 2 weeks of their staff employment costs. So just some really kind of creative things that were done there. Daniel said, AOT has a great visiting journalist program. Any thoughts on these journalists doing virtual travel guide pieces during this pandemic?
Do you want me to take that?
Yep.
Sure. Yeah. On the PR side, our PR team, our travel and media team, trade media team are constantly working with journalists, and also creating, we're looking back at itineraries that we've created over the years, and we're updating those. We're also looking at content we've created recently and repurposing that to share that out during this time, because we know people are considering travel, and we're hoping that they're planning it. We're not seeing too much planning specifically in research, but we know people are thinking about it. Everybody's talking about how they can't wait to get out again. So we are putting together all kinds of inspirational kind of content so people can think about road trips and itineraries to explore around their home, state and drive market.
Okay, perfect. We also at Local First Arizona have created community profiles over the past couple of years and housed them at ruralaz.com. I wish it was for every rural community, and that's eventually our goal. We are slated to get another 6 up here in the coming months, including Wilcox, Eager, Tubac, and Kingman. But we are going to quickly go in and add in the local lodging places to those profiles, because they weren't there before, and make sure those are there and ready. And so those will be added in here over the course of the next week to 2 weeks to make sure that's in. Pinetop Lakeside has been slated for a community profile for some time, but would probably not be until the fall that we could get that one up and going. So we'll keep you posted on that one. Any other questions while we've got everybody on the call? So one of the things that was asked of us is to try to get a collaborative list of the contacts of the participants in this and the ones that we have in this industry, the independent hoteliers and bed and breakfast owners. So in the email that you'll receive after this, there will be a form that you can fill out if you're willing to share your information with the rest of the group. And maybe there's some potential for collaboration in conversations offline between all of you hoteliers that are working so hard. So watch for that. Please fill that out, and we'll circulate that out so that you can maybe start having some side conversations for creative ways to collaborate as well. Another question that popped up for Kim is Arizona Lodging and Tourism providing resources on how to keep staff, especially housekeeping, safe if a property is housing emergency medical personnel as part of that program? Wait. Let's see. Okay, try now.
Perfect. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, I would encourage anyone to go to our website. We've got great resources, a number of resources, azlta.com. And if you click on the rotating screen under COVID, it'll pull up a whole list of resources. At the local, state, and federal level that will provide guidance through the Arizona Office of Tourism, through ACA, et cetera. So great resource of information on our website.
Okay, perfect. All right. If there's no other questions, we have recorded this. We will help circulate this out so that the information goes even further beyond those on the call, but we appreciate the time. We so appreciate your work. We believe wholeheartedly in rural tourism in our rural towns, and hope that this was helpful to you all. So we will talk to you all soon. If there's anything we can do in the meantime, please don't hesitate to reach out, I would say, to any of the organizations on here, and we'll put contact information in the email here shortly. So have a great day, everybody.